All right. Awesome. Hey, we are deep in a conversation with Diamond Dallas Page, a man who certainly needs no introduction. He was just giving us the origin story of his name. So let's just keep the conversation rolling. This is great.
Excellent.
And to even take it back farther, my real name was Page Joseph Falkenberg. And I knew that was never going to draw any money in the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I'm 65 now.
Okay.
So we're talking about when I was a kid, almost 58 years ago, 59 years ago, my dad was, he's a big football fan. And, of course, I loved football as a little kid. And I liked the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if it was the stars on their helmets. I don't know what it was. But my first tattoos were star, star, and star. So made some kind of impact. And when I decided to try to go into wrestling when I was 23, I hadn't come up with a name yet. Even though a nickname, Dallas, was just between me and my dad, I never really was called that by any of my friends. Everyone always called me Paige, because Paige is a cool name. And no one had that name except for me and my dad. Nobody that I knew or anybody else knew. So I liked the name Page, and I went to go see the first Alien. Mm-hmm. And the captain of that, ship was named Dallas.
Okay.
And I went, that's my name, Dallas Page.
Page, that's cool.
And then I used it as when I tried to wrestle. I'll tell you a funny story. This is how it really all happened. I tried to wrestle when I was 23. It didn't work out for me. I had 3 matches. I hurt my knee. It's the same knee I walked out and got hit by a car. I walked out right in front of the car. Looking at the bus down the aisle. We were at a bus stop that we made up. Weren't supposed to be there, but we were there on the main road. I walked out in front of it, hit my right knee, my face bounced off the hood, and I flew 42 feet from the point of impact. That was the end of my 12-year-old football career. Yeah. In my mind, I was going to be playing defensive and for the Jets, the Giants, or the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. And I achieved every goal I've ever had. So there's no question in my mind if that would have happened or not today. But it ended because there was no rehab in 1988.
Yeah.
There was for Joe Namath, for Willis Reed, but not Paige Falkenberg. Right. I even went to go see my mom because they wouldn't let me play football or hockey anymore. I went to go see, I asked my mom, please take me to New York. This guy, Dr. Nicholas, I saw him on TV. He worked on Willis Reed and Joe Namath. He fixed both their knees. Maybe he could help me.
And was this? Were you in high school when this happened, or is this after you?
12.
You're 12.
Dang.
Oh, you're 12. That's what happened. Okay, cool.
12. So cool. And I've been playing football for 9 years and playing hockey for not 9 years. I played football for 4 years at that time. I started playing when I was 8, Pee-wees, 8 or 9, and whatever it was. I was starting when I was in 6th grade with the 7th and 8th graders, both ways, center and defensive end. Yep. So, I was a kid who was going to be that kid on the field and make an impact. And it wouldn't, when I hit by that car, they wouldn't let me play hockey or football anymore.
How tall did you end up getting?
I said, Mom, 6'4".
Yeah, you would have been in the ballpark.
6'4".
You would have been in the ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have been. I would have had a shot. But if you look at every goal I've ever tried to, which is impossible, like literally from being a wrestler at 35 to starting a yoga workout that I won't let anyone call yoga because it's yoga for people who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. That's what I went out to turn the world on to. Everyone said I was out of my mind, and I did that. And I became a wrestler, I became a Hall of Famer. So looking at my career back, then maybe I know I would have played D1. And if you really go to look at it, it never would have happened only because I was reading at a 3rd grade level at the age of 30 because I had ADD and dyslexia. Yeah. So I had all this again, but I didn't think about that back then. Well, I just cheated and got people to, was nice to everyone. Write papers for me and all that stuff, that you do. I didn't bully anybody.
This sounds like my experience in college football. So
So Dallas, help us connect. I'm sorry, no, finish your story, then I'll chime in. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the bottom line is, I ended up, they would only let me play basketball or basketball or baseball. I sucked at both. Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening is, baseball, you got to have a couple of guys to play with. Basketball, you need no one.
Yeah.
You can do dribbling drills, layups, foul shots. I was the last kid picked for a while, and it took a long time, but within a year and a half, I was the guy who was picking the teams. And what I learned that summer was work ethic equals results, because I was a natural in football and hockey. So I didn't work as hard.
Right.
Where I did have to work was when I started playing basketball, and I loved the game. So back to the club, I'm running this big club in Fort Myers, Florida. And I'm walking around and I'm collecting the nightly drawers. And I'm picking up the last drawer. And we got 12 bartenders on that crew. And I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just watching a video. Mm-hmm. And it was Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And Captain Lou. That video, Captain Lou, who I loved growing up as a kid. Captain Lou was up there. Nikolai Volkov was up there. And out loud, I say to myself, rock and wrestling. I should have been a part of that. And I walked into my office. Now all the bartenders are coming and we're all drinking, and my buddy Smokey comes in. He's my head bartender who's at that bar. And he comes in, Paige J, what do you mean rock and wrestling? You should have been a part of that. I go, oh, you heard that? He goes, yeah, what about it? I go, well, I tried it when I was a kid. He goes, seriously? He goes, yeah, I had 3 matches. I sucked. I hurt my knee. He's like, well, what was your name? I said, Handsome Dallas Page. And he said, oh, you can forget about using that gimmick anymore. And everybody laughed. And, we're doing shots and drinks. And I don't know why, but I got fixated on the whole wrestling thing again. Because wrestling at that point was
You're 35 at this point.
I'm at 31. At 31. That point, I'm 31.
Wow. That's my age, so there's still hope.
Yeah. And I'm just doodling as we're all drinking and doing shots. To tell you, it's 1987. We're drinking Goldschlager, schnapps with gold chips in it. How stupid was that?
Yeah.
But bottom line is, I just start writing, and I come out with Diamond Dallas Page. And then I write the Diamond Exchange. So I say to my boys, I'm too old to be a wrestler. I said, but I could be a manager. Mm-hmm. I could be Diamond Dallas Page. And I was like, ooh, shot, drink. And I go, Jimmy Hart has the Hart Foundation. I could have the Diamond Exchange. And I'm doodling. I'm writing all this. And now we're pretty, we're a couple hours in the cocktail. It's probably about 3 or 4 in the morning. And I said, there's not really any good looking women in professional wrestling. I said, Miss Elizabeth is, but she's like girl next door, beautiful. I said, what if I had a whole stable of girls? And I called them dolls, and they were stretched, drinking. And I wrote it all down. Mm-hmm. And about a week later, this news, they called it the Party News Network. It was in Southwest Florida, anywhere from Sarasota to Naples. If something cool was happening, they'd go and report on it, whether it was Cheap Trick coming into the arena or whatever it was that was happening. Well, our club was so hot, and I did all of the radio commercials. And sometimes I would throw on a synthesizer voice like Thursday, and I'd have some kind of like motor speedway thing. Or I might say, oh, yeah, Wednesday, don't miss it. Hot legs, dig it. $1,000 in cash and prizes. Oh, yeah. So I might throw in Mach. I might throw in the Hulkster. I might throw in Jesse Ventura. Now, the reason why it really worked is because Jake had come into my club about a year before that. And, of course, he didn't pay for any drinks. And I'm talking about Jake the Snake Roberts.
Right.
Next thing you know, Ted DiBiase, $1 Million Man, comes in. This is a picture from those days of me and Ted.
Wow.
And I'm pouring upside down tequila shooters, and we're going back and forth with it. So our people all knew that these guys came in the club. So they wanted to know, like, what's the thing behind who is the voice?
Mm-hmm.
And so they filmed me in my 62 pink Cadillac convertible. They filmed me at the radio station. I'm wearing a WrestleMania t-shirt. I'm not in wrestling. I'm just a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I'm at my club. I'm sitting at that desk. And that's where they say, so where does the voice come from? And I look down at what I just wrote. And yeah, Pat, Jimmy, maybe I never do this, but there's a pair of white sunglasses sitting there. And I grabbed those sunglasses, I put them on, and I said, the voice comes from Diamond Dallas Page, get it? I was born to be a professional wrestling manager, blah, 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 blah. And I took the glasses off and kept going. And the day after it aired, and this is just how, shit works sometimes.
Just lines up. Yeah, incredible.
Just lines up. But you're also on a track. You were supposed to be on this track, and you left. Because I know now, knowing everyone that I know, that if I just would have paid my dues and stuck with it, I would have been in the middle of all of it in the 80s. Now, it works out better that it happened for me in the 90s, but you don't think about that at that time.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is I get a call, and my front desk girl, I'm in my office again, and she says, Paige, there's someone who's looking for a Diamond Dallas Page. I pick up the phone and went, fuck you, Smokey. And I hung up the phone. She calls me back. She goes, that wasn't Smokey. That was some guy. Smitty's got his talk show. I pick up the phone and go, who is this? He goes, it's Smitty from Smitty's Talk. So I go, hey, man. He goes, I want to have you on my show. I saw your thing on Party News Network. I go, bro, I don't really do it. He goes, I do boxing all the time, but one day a month I want to do wrestling. I go, bro, I don't really do it. It's just an idea I had in my head.
It's just a shtick.
And he says, and this is going to be crazy, I'm going to have Captain Lou Albano on the show.
Oh, so it's like the dream, yeah.
Right. Like, are you kidding me? The only time I've ever asked, let's see, at this point, I talked to Gorilla Monsoon, and when I saw Craig the Hammer Valentine up on one of the balconies, I said, Hammer, how do you get into wrestling? Fuck you. And he turned around and walked back in. He's just being a heel, So the bottom line is, my train of thought. Okay. So he says, I'm going to have Captain Lou Albano on. I go, do I get to talk to the captain? He's like, absolutely. You're my resident expert. I go, I'm in. So I go, now I'm really creating Diamond Dallas Pages from Johannesburg, South Africa, since that's where the diamond mines are. And I start creating all of this, I steal a little from Ric Flair, a little from that guy, a little from that guy. I start going, okay, I'm going to have fun with this. After it, Smitty said, can you come back next month? Sergeant Slaughter's going to be on. I go, oh my God, absolutely. So I come back a month later. After we go and get some cocktails. He says, you really got to do something with this Diamond Dallas Page thing. I'm like, Smitty, do what? There's no wrestling here. There's no independent wrestling here. I go, dude, it's just an idea I have. And he said, listen, I got a friend of mine, and this guy just passed 3 days ago. And his name is Rob Rustin. I was telling a story to a reporter. Smitty said, I've got this friend of mine, Rob Rustin. He used to be a promoter in boxing, but now he's promoting for the AWA. I've got his address. Make up some tape. I go, what do you mean make up a tape, dude? He goes, you can do it. You're a creative cat. And he said, I'll give you his address. Send him the tape. You never know what's going to happen. And if I knew what the really odds were for that, I don't know if I would have done it, because it's 1 in a billion that anybody even sees your tape that means anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I made up a tape, and on it, I brought in a friend of mine who had the deepest pipes you've ever heard. He's a radio jockey and Captain Jack, and he loved wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to be involved in wrestling. So I called him up and I said, dude, if I fly you in, well, you never know. They might pick you up. I go, would you come down and interview me? He's like, I'm in. I create Big Bad John, who's one of my diamond miners, and he's got the cut off sleeves and a chain around his neck and a hard hat. I grabbed this guy right here. He's rock hard Rick. This cat shredded. That's Captain Jack there. That's rock hard Rick, and that's me. And my feet are spread because I'm so legit 6'4", and he's about 6 foot. So I didn't want to be bigger than him, right? Not too much. So I create this tape: rock hard Rick, Big Bad John, and Ted E. Bear. And Ted E. Bear's a midget, and he's going to come out with the Diamond Dolls. And I make this tape up and I send it to the AWA. And
you showed this tape on Rogan. I've seen this tape, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They pulled it up. They pulled it up. Like, that's what's great about Rogan. Once they start talking about shit, they start popping it up there.
So you're in your mid-30s when this really takes off.
35 when I finally get the WCW.
Yeah. Wow.
But at this point, I'm 31, and I get a call from that guy, Rob Rustin.
Yeah.
And he says, we like your stuff. We want to bring you and your boys in for a tryout. But we've got one question. Everybody here's seen the tape, but no one's ever heard of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you working? Well, Rob, none of those guys can wrestle. What? Why would you send me the tape? Well, it's like a secret society, to get in. And long story short, I said, hey, but you can have me manage guys while they're training. Basically, it was don't call us, we'll call you.
Sure.
And the last little caveat is what ends up happening is Paul E. Dangerously, Paul Heyman, leaves the AWA 2 weeks later and goes to the NWA. They didn't have any young guy that had the gift of gab. So great God, you called me up and said, we want to bring you in, bring all those crazy clothes you wear. Like, where's that one? Like, I wore this in the nightclub, and I was just being a character,
Mm-hmm.
And he said, bring all those crazy clothes you wear and some of those hot chicks, and we'll give you a tryout. And next thing you know, it was on ESPN.
So this is for a manager role. You're not doing any wrestling at this time.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. Are you physically active? Are you working out? Are you training? What's just like your general lifestyle at this time?
Training in the gym, but I'm running the hottest nightclub from Sarasota to Cuba.
And so this whole thing really started out as sort of a satire. And this is
start in the beginning just having fun, and then all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, if I get this gig, I'll be one step away from the WWE. You have to understand, I came in with leopard skin jacket, zebra skin boots. This is all shit I wore.
Yeah.
I mean, I look like this guy. Like I look like all the time. Like,
because you're in like the 80s club scene, right? You know, it's like Miami Vice is on TV. This is how we dressed in the 80s, right?
Right. And I was wearing
you're in Florida.
Holes in them. Yeah. I was either doing Miami Vice look or I was doing the rock and roll look, And like I got picture, Motley Crue. I just happened to get in with Skid Row. These are my boys. I'm
a Skid Row fan.
This is one of the shots. Look at me with Skid Row. I was like their bodyguard for a while.
Wow.
They're just good friends of mine. They're Jersey boys.
Sure.
The main guys, the guys who own the band were Jersey boys, Dave Snake Sabo and those guys. But, it was just like I was having fun. really believing I might get the chance to go to the WWF as a manager.
Yeah.
And then I got introduced from a buddy of mine named Lee Marshall to Classy Freddie Blassie. Now, that was my favorite character, along with Captain Lou Albano.
Right.
And I send Freddie a tape, and he brings it to Pat Patterson, the guy who runs, the talent relations for WWE. And Pat's like, Freddie just told me straight. He was like, he loved you. He thought your look was great. Your rap was great. He goes, but it's like going to be like Andre the Giant as a manager. Because I was 6'4", I was wearing cowboy boots. So I was like 6'6.5".
Yeah.
So it's very cosmetic. And then I still kept doing the AWA, and then Dusty Rhodes left the NWA because Ted bought all these different wrestling federations and was going to create WCW.
That's right.
And they wanted Dusty to be a heel. There's a great picture of me and Dream in 1989.
There he is.
That's 33 years ago, man.
Wow.
That was my boy, man.
Now he's the guy that brought you to WCW, right?
Yes, but he brought me in Florida Championship Wrestling first.
Okay.
And meeting him the first time was like, because if you love wrestling, you idolize. That's Elvis.
Right. Yeah.
That's John Wayne meets Elvis. Is Dusty Rhodes,
like the founder.
And like just the greatest ever. If you really put at, you have to look like have a body. He did it as a big guy.
Right.
He didn't have to be, ripped like Mr. Wonderful or Ric Flair, for that matter, And he just got over so huge. And when I met him, he shook my hand, man. I knew it was like, I felt like I knew my whole life.
Yeah.
And he let me tell him my story because I wasn't going to come up there for Florida Championship Wrestling and quit my night job. I was living the dream, running the hottest nightclub and being single. I was having too much fun. I wasn't just going to walk away for $200 a week to go to the wrestling thing. And he got it. He totally understood. And at the end of it, he said, so I'll tell you what we're going to do, kid. I can see a little bit of Captain Lou in you. And I can see a little Jesse Ventura in you. And I can even see a little bit of me in you. So here's what we're going to do. Now, sitting there is Gordon Soley, Michael Graham, and Steve Kern. He says, we're going to make you the Jesse Ventura of the 90s. And my eyes get wide. I'm like, Dusty, I don't know a wrist lock or a wristwatch, bro. I won't be able to answer that. I can manage though. He said, don't worry about it, kid. Gordon Soley gonna walk you through it all. Wow. So I got to work next to the Dean and Elvis as I'm coming up. And learning. And I go up there and do TV once a week. And then I'd go up there another day and I just sit and hang out with Dusty. And anything he needed me to do, he taught me production. He taught me so much stuff that I could, when I was at the WCW, I easily could have been booking, but I didn't want to book. I wanted to be talent.
And are you actually training to wrestle at this time as well?
Not yet. I have gotten in the ring though, about once a week, just to be able to feel what those bumps really feel like.
And I want to learn about that too. I want to hear what those bumps really feel like once we get there. Going.
So one day I remember coming up to Dusty and I was like, Dream, what if I came up here and I started training during the week and maybe we put me together with two other guys who could really work like the Freebirds, and maybe I could be like the voice for them and get in there and start learning how to work. No, baby, no. D, you're a fire-breathing dragon. You're going to be the greatest manager of all time. And he was just filling my head with shit because he didn't think I could do it. And then, because it's really, really, really hard to be good. Now, if a celebrity comes in, it's their job to make them look good.
Of course.
You know,
right.
it's not like they're going to really get it.
And you've done that a couple times. You were good at that. You were good at making other people look very good in the ring.
Yeah, and Jake will tell you that, who's my other mentor. I always say, without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah.
Without Jake Snake Roberts, there's no 3-time world champion. Mm-hmm. Without the both of those guys, I'm not a Hall of Famer, because they both guided me through some times that were really tough at times, you know, mentally. And I'm positively Page, but there's times where this business just wipe your feet out, pull your feet out from under you. And, you know, because it's not like in football. If you're a running back and you get in there for one play and you run 62 yards, they're going to keep you in that game. You know, they're going to, oh, wait a minute. And then you get another one play and you run for 38 yards, you're going to have some notice.
Yeah.
If you're in the UFC or friggin' a professional boxer, they don't think you're worth a shit. You walk out there, you knock somebody out, people go, whoa, did you see that? I didn't think he had that. Mm-hmm. Well, you can prove it in real sports. We're sports entertainment. We're like actors, stuntmen, and truck drivers.
That's a good description.
You know, it's like you drive 100, 200, 300 miles at the next gig. Get in your car and drive for 2 hours and tell me you don't get out and go, oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
My back. Right. You know, you're not about to go you're not about to go get in 7 car accidents tonight.
Right.
Because that's what bumping around the way we do is like. And it's a cumulative. So when you're really in amazing shape, Ric Flair said it the best. It's amazing what your body can handle being a football player. And when you're coming up through high school and college, you didn't really feel that shit. Especially when you were out there and the fans and the, you know, adrenaline was pumping. Mm-hmm. But when you tear a rotator cuff, it's like someone shot you with a shotgun.
Yeah, yeah.
It could be 40,000 people there chanting your name. Mm-hmm. You're not getting up right away.
Right.
And when you do, you're like, don't touch me.
But the show has to go on, right?
Yeah. Well, if you hopefully, the 2 times that I got hurt, I was in tag teams.
Okay.
And I was lucky enough to be able to tag out. First time I said to Kevin Nash, we were nobodies at the time. Mm-hmm. I think I broke my shoulder because I had never felt anything like that before.
Right.
And what I did is I threw a guy in for an elbow, and he's going to come off, and I would lay the shit in. But I'm still not going to try to hit him in the head, but hit him right here.
Yeah.
But this guy was 6'6" and 300 pounds. So when he came off the ropes, he came off like this instead of like this. So if I hit your flat body, you know, it's kind of like getting hit with a chair. If you get hit flat, it's going to hurt, but it's not going to bust you open. It's not going to hurt you. Like
the edge is the problem, man.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
And what happens with that force? So he came off like this. So see this? Mm-hmm. And I do this as hard as I can. Mm-hmm. I blew that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went down and he went down. And I was like, oh my God. And I rolled over. I tagged Kevin. I said, don't tag me back in, bro. I think I broke my shoulder. So I pulled myself up, you know, and I hung there till the end of the match. And here comes the guy. Please don't hit me. Please. Boom, he hits me. I go flying off the ropes. When I got to the back, Mick Foley, a.k.a. Mankind, Cactus Jack, etc.
Right.
He was Mick Foley back then. He walks up and he goes, D, is it the worst pain you've ever felt? I said, yes, bro. I can't even touch it. I can't lift my arm up. Nothing. He goes, you tore your rotator cuff. Like, he knew. The doc, he knew. The other time was when I blew my back out, when I ruptured my L4 and L5.
Yes.
There, it felt like someone and shot me in the back.
Right.
And oh my God, that was the career-ending injury that they said was over. 3 spine specialists told me I was done. That's where, and we'll get to this later, but that's where the DDP comes from, DDP Yoga. Without that, it's over.
Yeah. All right. So, there's lots to talk about here. This is super fascinating. So here's what I've always wanted to know. And, you know, I was 8 to 10 years old when you were at like the top of the scene. So like this was just such an exciting world for me as a kid, right? Like you versus Goldberg, like all those iconic matches. I grew up in that, right? So this is a very cool conversation to have. Let's just like maybe give people a frame of reference, right? So say you're getting like superplexed off the top rope. When you hit that ring, say like 10 is concrete, right? One is like one is a trampoline. Where are we in that range? Is it like a 6? Is it a 4?
Yeah, it's like a 6.
That's serious
with
business.
You. Yeah. It's and that's
6s add up though.
Yeah, and that's if you hit perfect. Like what happened to me when I retired the first time, because I thought I broke my neck. This was one of the 3 times that was like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. And what has happened is I was wrestling Bob Holly, and Bobby was super stiff. That's why they gave him the name Hardcore Holly, because he was really physical out there. So you had to be really physical back to him. And in the corner, I lit him up with some punches, and I'm barely touching him. And I threw him in a turnbuckle, and I came running. And now if your foot's like this, I'm going to hit, but I'm not going to hit. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to boom, stagger back. He's going to clothesline me. You know, I'm going to be gone before he even gets there. He goes to clothesline me. I'm going to try and take my own bump before he does that. But what happened was he had his foot here at the last second. He did that. Now this is as far as my neck moves. Okay?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of mobility there. So when you're in here and then it goes there, whoa. Now I'm staggered. When he comes through that clothesline, he rips my head off.
Yeah.
And knocks me out. But not completely cold like you've probably been here on the field, where you're out on your feet. And this was one of the many times where, boom, I hit the bump. I come to right away. I have no idea where I am. And this happened a number of times. Uh-huh. So I trained myself to look for the red light. Okay, I have no idea where I am. Look for the red light. Okay, there's the red light.
Wow.
That means we're live. Mm-hmm. If it's a house show, meaning no camera, when Bobby comes over to me, I'm going to say, dude, you knocked me out. Throw me to the floor.
Yeah.
Like basically like knock the cobwebs off to remember where the hell I am. Mm-hmm. Right? But we don't have time for that because I have no idea where we are in this match. Mm-hmm. So when he comes walking over to me, I go, okay, now I know why this happened because he's stiff as hell.
How detailed is the choreography? I mean, how to what level is it planned? Yeah,
I would say it's probably about 60. You know,
60%.
It's kind of like preparation with improvisation.
Yeah,
you know, if you've got guys who are going to go out there and they're doing straight improv, well, then it's all improv. But if they have an idea, okay, here let's do that bit we did before with blah blah blah. So we've already done different stuff with them.
So sort of like a narrative set up.
Yeah, and then we know the opening, we know the heat spot. Like what's going to get the heat, what's the comeback, what's the finish.
Yeah,
if you didn't know the finish, you couldn't do all that shit. It's amazing when you're doing it what your brain can remember. Mm-hmm. But I never just took it from memory. I'd be talking the whole time.
Yeah.
And and that's the magic, but people still can't see it and they don't give a shit. Yeah. It's like now if they see through it, they're gonna friggin' you fucked up. They'll chant shit like that. You know what I mean? They'll let you know.
Yeah,
if you screwed up.
But it really is an art form as well, which is super fascinating about all this, right? And people sometimes say, well, wrestling is fake, but it's like, well, actually, it's like I was talking to Jim about this before. Like, I don't know what a more brutal sport or activity is on the body. So my background's Taekwondo. It's a little rough. It's not that rough. Jim's a jiu-jitsu player, formal football player, but you guys, professional wrestlers, like you said, it's like 7 car accidents per match. You guys are doing, I don't know how many matches a year. You're on the road. Like I can't think of an equivalent of what would be more traumatic physically than wrestling.
There isn't.
Like, is there one? Maybe there is. I don't know of it. Yeah.
No, there's no season. Like when I was on Hollywood Squares, some of the guests would go, so when is, I've seen wrestling, and it seems like it's on all the time. When is your off season? I said, when I'm injured, not hurt, because I was hurt all the time and wrestled, injured. Like I tore my rotator cuff. I ruptured my L4 and L5. I almost broke my neck. So back to the Holly thing, when he knocked me out, because you talk about off the top rope, and I said like a 6. Well, I'm going to show you where it's a 12. All right, same bump. So he slams me. He goes, I'm going off the top rope. Stop me. So I go, okay, now I know where I am in the narrative of where. And
that's like whispered in the middle of it right there.
But so it's like a magic act too. Right. So Bobby climbs the rope. I dove on the rope, so he fell and he nut shot at himself. Mm-hmm. So I come up to him and I punch him and I'm climbing. I'm going off the top rope. But I'm still feeling a little bit on, Queer Street right now. Still a little loopy. I'm climbing up it, and I get to that 1 foot on the second rope and 1 foot on the top rope, and I go, I'm not going all the way up. Right? So I pick him up, we go up, and we go back. And I hear him go, as we hit, oh! And as he's hitting, I'm hitting, and I jackknife because I was so focused on getting him flat. Yeah. I land on the top of my shoulders.
Ooh.
Yeesh.
From up on the 5 feet off the ground, coming backwards with a guy who's 250, 260 pounds.
Right.
I land here. Mm-hmm. The lightning bolts go through my hands and my feet. I thought I broke my neck.
Wow.
And then I just start moving from side to side. And I go, oh, please, 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 please. And I'm doing the same thing I hear him doing. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, what's he bitching about? I know I laid him flat, but I know I've really hurt my neck. He hears me not screaming, but, he's like, are you okay? I go, no, dude. I think I really screwed my neck up, man. I go, let's go home, which means finish. So we go right into the finish.
Yep.
We end up in the back. It's a courtesy. You come up, you thank the guy for the match, and and he says, man, I'm sorry I caught you in the face with that boot. I said, hey, bro, it ain't checkers. He goes, I know I got you with the clothesline. And I look at his arm right here, and he had like 19-inch guns. Yeah. And he's got a red mark right here where he caught my jaw. He goes, I'm really sorry for the clothesline because I know I got you because I thought I tore my bicep.
Wow.
That's how hard he hit me.
So
and then he says, but you got me back. I go, got you back? How the hell did I get you back? He said, when you dropped me, you must have jackknifed or something because your foot came around so fast. It hit me in the dick so hard, I thought my dick was on fire.
Maybe it was.
Wow. So how much rehearsal are there to these moves? You know what I mean? Like to make sure that you're landing these moves right. Are you drilling them all the time outside of the actual ring, or you said
zero?
There's no rehearsal.
I'm not walking out there going to do that. I've already done all that shit.
Yeah.
You should know how to do it before you get there.
So you do spend years rehearsing the movements beforehand.
Well, you learn how to, just like you do, you run plays.
Yeah.
How many times do you hit and move? And if you're a defensive player, how many times you just don't run at the guy? There's all sorts of tricks.
Right. So
and if you don't get the reps of being on better and better people, you never get any better.
Right.
It's not like the quarterback just doesn't get the ball and throw it. He's got a whole cadence of shit. He's got to read the defense. Like, it's called reps.
Yeah.
If you don't get the reps in, then you shouldn't be out there.
Right.
And don't try to do something new with me because I'm not going to let you do it unless I've seen you do it.
Rightfully so. Yeah. So what was your physical training like at this time? This was before the whole DDP yoga. What were you doing? Were you just doing your traditional weightlifting, just hanging out with the bros in the gym, or Yep.
Weightlifting, cardio, and stretching. Like I stretch. That's why I knew my program is so different because people think, yoga is stretching. And a lot of it is, but there's a lot of strengthening to yoga too. And I took all that shit with me.
Yeah.
And what happened was when I ruptured my L4 and L5, I had 3 of the top spine specialists in the country tell me you're done. And they
what year is it? What year is that?
Going into 99.
Okay.
I don't know exact date on that.
Sure.
I have to look and see where pay-per-views were, where I wasn't
on. Yeah. Is that late career for you? Is that like
it was somewhere around, no, it was like I've been in, like, I'm 42, so I started at 35. So I'm in like 7 years at this point,
Yeah. I find this, I find it very interesting that you started late. And it's interesting how, like, when a lot of your peers are like getting really decrepit in their late 30s, you're starting. Right. I find that fascinating.
Told people I was going to do it. Well, it wasn't like it was a choice. I was managing the Freebirds and Scott Hall, who was a diamond stud at the time. It was right before he left for New York and did Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon was a diamond stud. It just, he just talked more and didn't have me.
Yeah.
But what Magnum, one TV, imagine the Freebirds that night, Scott wasn't there. We can't let you manage anymore. I'm like, why not? Like, what did I do wrong? I'll fix it. He's like, you really can't. I go, what do you mean I can't? He goes, it's not your fault. It's the hair, the clothes, the bling, the wrap, the diamond dolls. Like, no one's paying attention to the wrestler. They're watching you and the girls, and everybody wants to be you. It's like, it's like the guys do all the money. The manager doesn't. I said, Magnum, are you telling me I'm too over the top for professional wrestling? and he laughed. And he laughed. And he said, "Hey, it's not your fault. What we should have done was put you in a pair of tights and boots and see if you can do this." Yeah. Now, I'm managing the Freebirds, and it's going to be my last match with the Freebirds. And these 2 guys, I love them to death. They're both Hall of Famers. They would rib me so bad so many times. It's all fun stuff, the boys stuff, and good jest. And that night, when they heard that I wasn't going to manage them anymore, they realized I was pretty much, my career's not going to last much longer. I got 7 months left of my contract, and they felt bad. And they were so empathetic. And to see them like that, knowing how unmerciful they were as ribbers and just being fun buddies to hang with, they were so empathetic as they were walking up to the curtain where we're about to walk out. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Hey, bro, really sorry to hear this. Know it's your dream, but hey, at least you got this far. And, hey, who knows what'll happen with the color commentating?" And I said, I ain't doing that. I said, "Don't, I appreciate it." I said, "But bro, I got 7 months left of my contract. I never got into this shit to be a manager or a color commentator. I got into it to be one of the boys, to be in the ring." I said, "I got 7 months left of my contract. I'm going to down the power plant. I'm going to learn how to wrestle."
Yeah.
And they both looked at each other and just, they just blew, laughing their ass off. Michael fell down laughing. And I gave them both the "You're number 1" signing. So I'll see you in the ring. And what I really figured out in the beginning, very early, because people would say, "Dude, how old are you?" And I go, "I'm 35 and a half." Right? And by the time you learn it, you're going to be too old to know what to do with it. Like, it takes years to really get this. And, plus I got to go from being a manager who's up here now to one of the bottom guys.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're not going to give me any spot. Right. I had to earn that at a different level.
Yeah.
And everyone would tell me, that I couldn't do it. And one of the biggest reasons was age. Mm-hmm. So this was interesting. I stopped telling people my age.
Yeah.
And when
I like that. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And when they would ask me, I would say I'm 29 again. And they go, dude, you're 29. I thought you were around there, blah, 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 right? That would happen for years. And then when I was 40.
You look so young for 29.
Yeah. When I was 40, someone had asked me, how old are you? And I said, 29 again. And he said, you're not 29. I said, I didn't say I was 29. I said I was 29 again.
Again.
I said, I can't afford to think any older. And from that, within the year, I was one of the top guys in the business. That was in 96 when my career started to take off. 97, I was WCW Wrestler of the Year.
Right.
Rated number 4 in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I mean, I went whoa. And it was all because of the Diamond Cutter was over like crazy. People had seen my matches get better and better and better and better. Work ethic equals results.
Yeah.
Just keep putting the work in.
So how do things like rankings get determined? You know what I mean? I
think it's really with the, more than anything, it's the crowd, the people.
Yeah.
The people
really resonating with people.
Yeah. You were the people's champ. Uh-huh.
And that's really, and when you push other guys, meaning like if Vince McMahon or whoever the company is pushes guys who they don't think should get that, the fans will make it very hard. Like Roman Reigns, who I think is a great champion, a great athlete. He was a great football player when he played for GT, Georgia Tech. And he's just a great human being. And he started getting he's getting the guy push. First of all, he's ludicrously handsome. He's got the perfect look, and he's a man's man. But those wrestling fans, boy, when they saw him getting shoved down their throats, they loved him. Right up until they started to shove him like this is the guy.
You can't force it.
They turned on him, and then finally, I'm so happy that he turned heel. Because when he goes back babyface, he'll be over like crazy.
Sure.
Because it's just that little Rock. The Rock was the best example. They shoved Rocky Maivia down the throat, and there was chance of Rocky sucks. I mean, for the longest time. So once he got the opportunity to be a heel, and then he became the corporate champion, who became the people's champion, he just stole my gimmick and ran with it like crazy. And did a great job with it. I think he did it better than I did it. That cat's the real people's champion. Like, if he runs for president in 24, the cat will win.
Yeah.
Because no one has anything negative to say about The Rock. And he's obviously a brilliant businessman.
He's a brilliant marketer, but that's the skills. You had those skills too. And on this podcast, we talk a lot about being a generalist, how sometimes it's actually better to be good at a broad range of things and try to be the best in the world at any one. And it seems like that describes you, right? You have the business experience. You were a marketer. You were very creative. You knew how to plan things. Yes, you had wrestling chops. Obviously, you developed that. But it seemed like for you, it was more this combination of skills, and you knew how to work a crowd that really helped you to stand out. Would you say that's right?
100%. You see it. They bookers, the guys who write the stuff, they knew that coming up, there's no way this guy going to make it, so we're not going to push him. He's 35, 36. I tore my rotator cuff. They got rid of me. I came back at 37. So none of those guys think I'm going to be money. Yeah. So Dusty had me for about 4 weeks. He started giving me a bit of a push. Then they sent Dusty out the pasture. Actually, what happened was Dusty was down the power plant, which is where you learn to be a wrestler there. That's where you train. And he had never been there. And I just spent a year with Jake on the road. Not every day, but, we were together a lot of that time. And when we weren't, like, in the ring, we'd be watching matches or my matches, and he'd be critiquing them. And so there was a big improvement from when I left after wrestling for 9 months, tore my rotator cuff, and came back a year later. So Dusty was at the power plant. And I was like, hey, we were having a meeting the next day. I was going to come back, and at the bottom and work my way up. And he said, hey, he goes, get in the ring with this kid. I want to see what he's got. So I said, okay. So I got in there for like 20 minutes with him. Dusty goes, okay, that's good. Then I went from one ring to another. There was 3 rings there. And if I wasn't practicing punching or kicking or, chain wrestling, or I was teaching. Mm-hmm. And the biggest lesson I learned there is the more you teach, the more you learn, mm-hmm. the better you get. And that's the same way in everything. Unless people just teach ABC, but I didn't. I was learning as I was teaching these guys. Right. So the next day, I'm going to my meeting with Dusty. So when we get there, we talk about family because we're super tight. And we hadn't talked in a while. And, then he asked me what my idea was. And I told him coming in, I want to do this fishbowl gimmick where I pull out the top stars. And, of course, it's enhancement guys. But I get a couple wins coming in, get a little momentum. And then it led to an angle that I told him. And he said to me, D, I know you always seen yourself as this top performer in our business. And I got to be honest with you, D. I never seen it until yesterday. He said, I cannot believe how much you've improved. Mm-hmm. He said, you keep doing what you're doing. You just might pull this shit off. Mm-hmm. And that would be what I would hear from Jake, from Hogan, from Mach, all those guys.
Wow.
They all said it without saying it, without ever reading this. It's like, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get it. So Hogan came up to me in Germany, and he'd been in the company maybe about a month or so. But Hogan watches everybody. When you're the top dog, he was the top dog in the world. When you're that guy, you're watching everyone. Who can I draw money with?
Of course. Yeah.
So I'm in Berlin, and this is like when I do speaking, I use these stories, and this story is around you never know who's watching. Right. So do the best job that you can do. If it's sweeping floors, cleaning bathrooms, because you never know who's watching.
That's a great lesson.
Mm-hmm. We're in Berlin, and I get to hold my match. I'm the curtain jerk. I'm the first match. I walk through the curtain, and Hulk grabs me. So I come through the curtain. He goes, come here. He goes, how are you doing? I go, doing what? He goes, getting so much better. I'm like, wow, thanks. Hulk. He goes, I don't see you on TV that much because they weren't using me. I don't see you on TV that much. He said, but when I do, I see you hit some new move I've never seen you do before. And you get up and get the people involved. Mm-hmm. He said, this is what they're doing with you, right? They're putting you on the road so you can learn your craft. And I said, that would be nice, Hulk. I said, but no. This is the first road show I've been on in 4 months. Mm. He's like, what? I said, the only reason I'm here is my real last name is Falkenberg. Mm-hmm. And the Krauts love their Germans. And I got a smoking hot wife that walks to the ring with me. That's the only reason I'm on this tour. He said, how the hell are you getting so much better? And I said, well, I explained the power plant to him. And he really didn't get that because that's not how he came up. He said, whatever you're doing, you need to keep doing it. Because it's not this year or next year or the year after. But I honest to God believe you keep doing what you're doing, you could draw huge money with me.
When you hear that from Hulk Hogan, that's gotta
it resonates at a different level, and I am all about manifesting dreams into reality.
Right.
4 years later, Rodman came back into WCW. I was red hot at the time. I walked down to Eric Bischoff and I said, my buddy Karl Malone and I, this is before, at that point, they had one more game to sweep LA to be in the finals. Mm-hmm. The Bulls were down 2 games. So it wasn't like we knew both of those were going to be in the NBA finals. So I came up with this idea. I said, how about me and Malone against Rodman and Hogan? Mm-hmm. After this whole series is over, and they all knew shit was coming, Malone, Rodman and Hogan were on the Tonight Show when me and Malone show up.
I remember it.
And it would be the second biggest drawing pay-per-view in the history of WCW. Mm-hmm. So we talk about manifesting dreams into reality.
From that to that. Yeah, just incredible. So, yeah, wow, Dallas, thanks for sharing so much of this. It's just
very cool.
Super incredible. Now, because a lot of my audience, they're really interested in the fitness side of what you've done, because you have not just an incredible career story, but you have an incredible sort of, I call it a redemption story in a way, certainly, and you've helped so many others as well. I mean, you said you're 67, right?
65.
65. You look awesome. You're lean, you're strong, you got the muscles. I see your videos all the time, your workout videos. You move incredibly well, which is not the case for most professional wrestlers. Right. Most of them are moving around like Frankenstein's monster, if they can move at all. So like, you are an enormous outlier here. So let's focus in on this. How did the yoga thing come about? And then how is it your own? How did you make it your own? And I would love to just have you explore some of that and share whatever you can, because we got a lot of weightlifters here, but they're curious about the yoga stuff. They're not defensive about it. They're very interested, and they want to know how it could help them and ways that you've used it.
Mm-hmm. For starters, I'm the guy for the first 42 years of my life who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. I was not okay with it. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And first of all, I didn't think it was a workout. Second of all, I didn't think it was healing. I didn't know any of that. It was my first ex-wife, Kimberly, who is still one of my best friends and partners in our DDP Yoga program. And what had happened was, when I blew out, ruptured my L4 and L5. So we're talking bone on bone on L4. L5, there's a little piece of a disc in there, but the bottom line is, when they end up doing this, I can't move. Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm constantly lengthening and strengthening. Do I stretch? Yes. But I'm stretching and strengthening muscles, ligaments, and tendons. And that's the kind of stuff that not only heals your body, but becomes preventative maintenance, so you don't injure yourself.
Yeah.
So just to put you where I was at the time, Kim finally bullied me into doing, she had me look at a couple VHS tapes of yoga. Like, no. Then I got to a guy named Brian Kest, who's a stud. Mm-hmm. And he's become one of my good buddies today. I love the guy. But I really dug his stuff, except for everybody was Gumby. There was no modifications back then. Mm-hmm. So take a guy who's broken. Now, if you're a yogi, that's a great workout. If you're immobile, that's really, really hard.
It's impossible.
So what it's for,
it might make it worse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Exactly. But I just signed a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal. Downside, worth $4.7 million. Mm-hmm. It goes away if I can't get back in the ring.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I got 6 months. And for me, I wasn't ready to give up the dream yet. I just got there. Right. So, okay, yoga just came into my life. I'm going to figure out modifications to what he's showing me how to do. And the first week was really awkward and cumbersome. The second week got a little bit better. By the third week, I could feel a dramatic difference of what was happening to my body. Was it healed? Hell no. But was I feeling like there's hope? Yes.
Yeah, and that's a key point.
Now,
right. Mm-hmm.
And I've been in rehab, for both shoulder surgeries, both knee surgeries. I know a lot about not just rehab, but God has given me a gift of how to break up scar tissue.
Yeah.
Like so many people get their shoulder surgery or knee surgery or hip surgery. They do the minimal PT and they wonder why they still feel like shit. Well, the PT was set you up. Now you got to keep doing that.
That's right. That's your instructions. You're forgetting to do the actual homework, right? Yeah.
Just it gets you out of the hospital, basically.
Yeah. Exactly. It's so important. And it's just going to be so much worse. Is it uncomfortable? Hell yeah, it is. But that's part of it. So I figured out how to do modifications to those yoga positions. But again, I'm doing rehab for my back. I've done rehab for my shoulders. I've done rehab for my knees. So one night before I go to bed, I spent about 40 minutes mixing some of the yoga positions with the rehabilitation techniques. I'm like, wow, kind of flows. Then I threw in, I knew I needed, because I wasn't lifting weights, because I really can't unless I'm going to hurt myself. Now, some meatheads are going to get right in that gym. They're going to pick up that weight with their back, and they're going to hurt themselves more. So you have to go to zero impact. I say minimal joint impact because my lawyers tell me I have to, but it's zero impact.
Right.
So what I did was I started doing what we grew up with: push-ups, squats, crunches. But I did them with a slow burn movement. Like I couldn't do a push-up. My back was so bad. I couldn't do a push-up. So I lowered to my knees. And instead of doing just a push-up, I thought, well, I'm going to make it more challenging to myself. I'm going to lower 3, 2, 1. I'm going to hold 3 inches off the ground. They call it chaturanga in yoga for 3, 2, 1. Then I'm going to push up 3, 2, 1. And then I'm going to come down for 3, hold for 3. Then I'm going to go in the cobra, in a down dog. Pretty quickly, I got off my knees. Pretty quickly, those 3-second push-ups became 5-second. The 5-second become 10-second. So now I'm on I decided I'm going to start doing cardio. I'm about 6-7 weeks into this now, right? So I get on the Stairmaster because even though I'm sweating my ass off on that mat, I'm not considering it cardio.
Yeah.
And I know how to put a heart monitor to train my body through heart rate. And I took it from Mark Allen, who is the Michael Jordan of triathletes. And it's all about working in your zone. And if you're hurt, you know, how you injure yourself, a lot of older athletes, they're not even wearing heart monitors and they're out there running. Their heart rate's at 170, you know, for like miles. You have no idea the damage you're doing to your heart and your body. You want to be like right in your zone. And when I say by that, and I'll use Dr. Phil Mathetone's numbers. That's what I use.
We've mentioned him multiple times on this podcast.
180 less your age.
Right.
So let me tell you, this is Mark Allen. Mark Allen wins the triathlete at the Hawaiian, what is it called? It's the hardest one of all. Ironman, right.
Right.
He wins 35. He wins at 32, 33, and 34. At 35, he doesn't place in the top 10. But he knows, like, that's the dipping point for just about every single athlete, except for Tom Brady and others like LeBron. But you have to understand, those guys are putting $1 million into their body a year. Like, taking from the food they eat to the way they train. So Mathetone is the same type of superhero. So Mark Allen, he finds Mathetone. Mathetone tells him, here's a heart monitor. You're 35. 180 less your age. That's 180 plus 135 is 155. So 145. So 145 to 125, there's your ultimate zone. If you're a normal person, Mark Allen's a superhero. So if you're a superhero, add 10 clicks. He said, that's 155. He goes, don't go over that. Just go out and do the same thing you normally do. Allen comes back. He's like, Doc, this ain't going to work. Like, what are you talking about? He goes, look at me. I barely broke a sweat. He goes, awesome. He's like, no. Yeah. But he's like, no, my times were 8:29 on the mile. Like, that's not good. He goes, that's going to change. You're going to reprogram your body. Bottom line is, this is an article that Mark Allen wrote. In the next, I want to say it was 6 months, could have been longer, can't remember exactly, but his times, 155 heart rate, 8:29 time, came down to the 8s, the 7s, the 6s, and he tapped out of the 5:15 mile.
Yeah, how about that? Wow.
Heart rate 155. Went back to the Ironman, won at 36, 37, and 38.
Yeah, wow.
I'm like, okay, like, I'm going to do what he does. So I had been training like that because I'd be on the Stairmaster just going crazy doing the
just cranking
interval
right.
up and down, like and holding 3-pound dumbbells. I'm not just holding onto the rack. You know, I'm like no one could hang with me cardio wise. Flair could, but after that, nobody could really, not like that. And what happened is sometimes, oh God, I get that spasm in my back. As soon as I eliminated that and started to hang in my zone, and at the time, let's just say when I was 42, that's 138, right? I had 10 clicks because I'm a superhero. But I never really went over those 10 clicks for any period, like more than a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
And I'd come right back down. So now to get on that treadmill, that Stairmaster, I'm injured. I'm not going over 130. And that's where I'm going to stick, right around 130. I got on the mat, and about 25 minutes into my workout, I've done some 10-second push-ups. Go to Cobra, go to Down Dog, jump, blah, blah, blah. I look down, my heart rate's 130. Like, how the hell is that possible? I'm on the mat for 20 minutes. And then I go into Warrior. And I'm in a Warrior position, and I'm looking at my heart rate. It says 111. And now I'm pulling, just like I'm lifting weights, but slow burn weights, like 3, 2, 1. Now I'm holding it, I'm engaging. And I'm watching it go 113, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121. Now I let go. 118, 117. So now I figure out completely by accident, every time you flex or engage a muscle, your heart has to be faster to get the blood to the muscle. And I'm like, oh man, I just created a kick-ass workout with no impact. So what DDPY, and I call it DDPY, branding it that way, and along with this, why? Because I want people to stop calling it just fucking yoga, because it's not. It's yoga for people who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. And that's men and women, because women aren't in there. There's men and women who love just the art of yoga. You know what? I love them all. I think every single different type of yoga is amazing. And I've done most of them.
Right.
But it's not the people. I wasn't one of them.
Right.
So I decided I was going to teach this to people like me.
Yes.
And when I've got you flexing and engaging, I call it dynamic resistance. Think time under tension. Think grabbing cables.
Yeah.
And they're 45 pounds.
It's like isometrics plus yoga.
Exactly. Yeah. It's isometrics. Isokinetics is engaging as you are flexing. Beautiful little girl.
Yeah, real quick. She's a big fan. She just wanted to get in one quick question for you before she runs off to her play date. What is your question?
DDP, how can kids get strong like you?
Do DDPY. Do it with your dad. I'm going to set them all up with the program. Let me just show you. You guys have been sitting with me for the last hour here.
This is great.
This is core strength at a different level. Being able to stand here, grab either one of my feet, stick it in your face, and hold it here, and then pull it open and hold it here.
That's really impressive, isn't it? That's what we're going to do together.
At 6'4", 224 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal, and 65 years young.
You know, Dallas, this is something that Pat and I have talked quite a bit about, and it's kind of in both of our background of the kind of fitness stuff that we work on. Is you don't need to redline the engine nearly as much as people think they do.
Yeah,
precisely.
Especially for those of us like me who are well in the middle age. You're doing at a certain point. There's a place for that, but you're really doing more harm than good for 90% of what people are doing, redlining the engine.
100%. Yeah. And Alan proved it there, and in less than 3 months, mixing yoga, because that's why another reason I don't want people call it just yoga. And people who know yoga, they go, "This isn't yoga." I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
It's DDPY, which is yoga inspired. It's kick-ass cardio, dramatically increase your flexibility. strengthen your core at a different level. You just saw what you're doing it with minimal joint impact. Yeah. In less than 3 months, I was back in the ring.
Wow.
When I went back and I put my forehead on my shins and pulled my foot over my head, Dr. Andrews, one of the top back doctors in Atlanta, that would be my guy I kept going to. He was flabbergasted. He had never seen anything like it. And he also had to sign the thing so I could have the Lloyd's of London policy. Yeah. He had to show them. They're like, no, he's good.
The thing that won me into trying yoga the first time was remember the old P90X program?
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And the hardest part of that thing was the yoga.
Yeah.
And I remember
he made it hard.
Yeah, he made it hard. And I think he said, if you go through this and you're a 200-pound man, you're going to burn like 1,000 calories. Right. And you think, yeah. And I remember the first time I did it, like feeling my heart rate was up. I felt like I had just done like a 10-mile run at the end of that. And that was the first time I had a sense that like yoga could be more than just orthopedically beneficial, right? That there was an overall conditioning effect on this.
Right. And not only that, but what you said, Dallas, I think about DDP, about yoga in general is I think there's probably less like kind of just initial resistance of men to try yoga now these days. But I think for both men and women, they go into a yoga class, they see all these Gumby figures and they're just intimidated by it. They just think this is impossible. There's no way. In the same way that somebody might be intimidated by the weight room, by people who are more advanced, doing more advanced things, they're just intimidated by just the nature of so many of these yoga programs and classes. And it sounds like you've provided something that can really meet people where they're at. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me show you my poster boy for the people who haven't seen. You guys might have seen this video, but this is a guy named Arthur Borman. He's a disabled vet. He's 5'6", 297 pounds. He has not walked at this point. He had not walked for 15 years without the aid of the knee braces, back brace, and wraparound canes. This is day one. This is 10 months later.
Excellent.
Wow.
Day one, look at his physiology, there and there. Now let's go to where it really matters. Where's his flexibility? Well, there he can, can't do anything.
Right.
But there he can.
Wow.
Same thing with seated. There he can. This is my favorite picture of him, though. All right. I'm like, Arthur, why is your son holding you? Because I'll fall.
Right.
Not anymore.
That's excellent.
This is
incredible.
What I just did. You guys just saw me. I'll help people stand up, and how far can they lift their leg up? He can't stand on 2 legs. How's he going to stand on 1? DDPY. That's how.
Yeah.
Now, on his 1 year, on his 10 months, he lost 140 pounds. More importantly, lost the knee braces, back brace, and canes, not just to walk, but run. On his 1 year anniversary, he's 5'6". He took a picture with his 6'1" son.
Wow, look at that.
Cool.
I wouldn't even
right
ask someone to do
That's
that.
incredible. Right.
I wouldn't ask somebody to do that, but I'm so glad he took that picture. I've got bikers and men who are used to be like, all American friggin' athletes that are just so beat up that they just need an opening spot. And some people think, oh, DDP, I can't do your workout. You'll kill me. Now, wait a second. My rebuild workouts start off in bed. Mm-hmm. So if you can't get out of bed, I got 3 workouts that'll help you get out of bed
for them.
And sit in the chair and do the workout. Or like my buddy Bobby Fish, who's a superstar wrestler, he tore his ACL. The only workouts he could do are the ones in bed. Mm-hmm. And then when he got better, he did the workout sitting in the chair. And I show you how to jack your heart rate sitting in the chair. Then you use the chair to help him get back up and down and help build balance. And then it goes to beginner all the way to psycho extreme stuff. And I got an app. Anybody who's listening or watching, you want to try it, cost you nothing.
Right.
Go to ddpy.com, pull up the app. You got it for 7 days. You try it. If it works, keep it. It works if you work. DDPY works if you work. If you don't work, nothing works.
What has
too many stories?
Yeah, no, this is really great. What has been your experience with people who have been into more traditional forms of weightlifting, whether they're doing barbells or kettlebells or dumbbells, who've implemented DDP Yoga? What is how has that benefited them?
Well, a lot of people do cardio. Right. And they want to lift their weights, and I get it. I was a meathead for decades, literally. I haven't touched a weight in 12 years. Now, will I occasionally just grab something to see what can I still move? Yeah, but I don't lift weights and haven't for 12 years. For people who still want to lift weights, this becomes their cardio. This becomes their strength conditioning in the ways. When I say that, I've trained so many NFL, guys, not like the elite guys yet, but I've trained the elite in UFC and WCW, WWE, all of them. But in the NFL or the NBA, you hurt yourself once, you're done. Especially in the NFL, you're labeled. You want to be injury-free. Eventually, it'll probably be the next 3 years. I'm building a retreat down in Panama City Beach, and it's right on the ocean. It's going to be super sweet. I'm going to put like $4 million in it, and it's going to be a place that athletes will be able to come and train with me. The pro athletes that actually are up there and putting that work in, if they're injured, or if they're just wanting for preventative maintenance, they'll find their way to me. And I'm not about I don't charge anybody anything for that stuff. I know as crazy as that sounds, I don't. I'm more about the relationship. I want people to talk about it. I got 2 kids I just talked to yesterday who is going into the NFL. One of the kids, Trey McKitty, was a tight end at Georgia. He's the guy at San Diego right now. We just talked yesterday. I was like, bro, if you put your work in on this, because he was all about it. We'll see if he actually really does it. Because talking to me is one thing, putting the work in is another.
Right. My buddy, thing.
Yeah, but if you're in the NFL, it only lasts so long. If you get an injury, you might get your job back, but as soon as it comes time to renegotiate that contract, you got an injury. You just dropped in the pay scale. Yeah. So
as you know, Dallas, the 22-year-old is not so good at that kind of judgment.
No, not at all. Not at all. But either is a 26 or 28. Because I've worked with those guys too, and I'm just like, dude, you can't even hang with me like a 10. You can't hang with 20% of me on the mat. Now, what does that say? Maybe you need this to supplement where you're lacking.
Yeah.
And so I think that one of the things are you guys familiar with BFR bands? Blood flow restriction.
Yes.
Yeah. I just put the workouts together on my app, and I'm going to be promoting. I've got the new, I call them DDPY jack straps. That took my strength. Just to give you an example, I tweaked my shoulder, so I'm nursing it right now because I did something climbing up the face of a mountain, a wall, and I just something I shouldn't have been doing.
Yep.
And I did it. I hurt myself. So now I have to go take 3 steps back. But before that happened, on my 64th birthday, I'm always doing something that's like proof of Jack LaLanne stuff.
Yeah.
Look what I can do at this age because of this. On my 64th birthday, I've never done more than 10-second push-ups. And I challenge you both to see how many you can get when you get done doing this.
I'll do it. Yeah.
You're going to lower 10, 9, 8, like that.
Right.
Then you get to the bottom and you hold here for 10. And then you come up 10, 9, 8, 7, like a hydraulic shift. 10. You do 3, you're shaking if you've never done them. Again, it's another inner strength thing.
Right.
I've never done more than 10. I only did it twice. And I've been using the straps at that point for about 6 months. And I thought, today's my birthday. I'm going to try and get 11.
I love it. I love the birthday fitness challenges. They're great.
Yeah. And I got 11, and I thought, I think I can get 12. And I went down, I held, and at 10, 9, 8, at 7, I had to lower my knee, one knee to push up the rest of the way. But who gets stronger in their 60s?
Right.
So it's just different. It's like the confidence I have, where I'm at, who I'm with. And it's every way, right on down to the bedroom.
It's funny, Dallas, because we get a lot of questions about this sort of thing, because we got a lot of kettlebell enthusiasts here, and this is almost sort of how this conversation came about. Because people have asked me very frequently throughout the years, like, how do you feel about the complementarity of traditional resistance training and or kettlebells and yoga or yoga type exercise? I say it's perfect. It just fills gaps, right? Like, and Jim does it all the time. I've got my own kind of little hybrid stuff. I love exactly what you're doing. So, and people have recommended on our channel your stuff before. So people are really talking about
awesome.
it. They're super excited.
Awesome.
When they heard you were coming on, they were like, oh, this is going to be fantastic. So Jim, I don't know if you had any other specific questions, but Dallas, I want, like, where is the best place for people to get started with this? Like, what should be the first step that they take? They're interested. They want to start utilizing your type of training, your system.
Just go to ddpy.com and or ddpyoga.com. And I recommend everybody on the app just go to the app, because then you can just cancel it. And then it costs you nothing.
Right.
And, as opposed to getting the DVDs, but some people just want DVDs. Blows my mind how many DVDs we sell. Yeah. Literally blows my mind how many DVDs we sell, but we're still selling them. But the app is probably 3 for every 4 DVDs. We're probably selling like, 1, sometimes 2 DVDs to 4. So either way, man, I like people to do the app, because cooking shows, motivational Mondays, every Tuesday's a new workout. There's over 300 workouts. None of them are, they're relatively the same, but they're not. And I just came up with so many new things, and I'm always putting out new stuff out there, and with new instructors. And the best thing we have, I'll tell people, don't listen to a word I have to say about the program. Go on Facebook, DDP Yoga, one word. It's a member site. There's over 60,000 people on there. And they are passionate. And they wear their heart on their sleeves, because they all know it's a no judgment zone. It's the best place on the community, as far as a community for fitness in general, but lifestyle. And I want to read you something that I've been reading. I wouldn't say I'm reading it. I'm listening to a book called The Power of Habit.
Yeah, I know that book.
God, there was something in there, and I wrote it down, but I'm not seeing. Oh, here it is. And there's a part in it where the guy who wrote this said this. He says, change. He said, people must first believe that change is feasible. The same process that makes AA so effective, the power of a group to teach individuals how to believe, happens whenever people come together to help another change. Belief is easier when it occurs in a community. That community that we have, no one has. No one. And I'll put P90X, I don't care who it is. CrossFit, they don't have this. Like, community that really cares.
It starts from the top, though. It starts from the top, right? It always does, right? And you can tell that the passion, the enthusiasm that you have for this. That's one of the reasons I was so excited to talk to you, not just because I've been a wrestling fan since I was a kid, but it's just seeing how much you care and how much of a difference this program has made, not just in your life, but the lives of other, I think is just a story that bears as much repeating as possible.
Well, I appreciate it, boys. So I want to hook you guys both up with the app.
I appreciate it.
All right.
That'd be amazing.
I'd love to come back like in 60 days. If you guys just do it for 60 days and
we'll do a follow-up.
We'll do it.
That'd be cool. Let's do it. We'll do a follow-up in 60 days from now with Diamond Dallas Page. I would absolutely love that.
And I'll send you guys the straps too, so you can do my jack workout.
Let's do it. Yeah, that sounds great. Jim, did you have any final questions or comments for Dallas here? This is amazing.
It's been fun.
Yeah. So this is Yeah, I was just going to say this is it. We're gonna do it, Dallas. We're going to do it. We'll do a follow up, and I want to make sure that we get the word out about this. Again, this is just the sort of thing that people who are listening to this show, they're gonna love this. You've got a great system here. It's accessible. We're all about we talk about low barriers to entry, right? Like let's get the low barriers to entry, meet people where they're at. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. It doesn't matter, whether you've been in the game 20 years or 0 years, you're going to benefit from this. So Dallas, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be here. I really appreciate it.
Well, fellas, it's been your pleasure.
It certainly has.
As far as you know.
Yeah. Looking forward to the next one, gentlemen. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right, so I'll let Marlon give you guys my number and just text me. What I want you to do for right now is, are you guys Apple or Droid?
Apple.
We'll just go on your app store, download it for you guys when it hits subscription. Just hit skip or later, because you're going to send me your email. I'm going to flip it on for you. You also send me your addresses so I can get you guys set up with the right gear. And then 60 days later, we'll get back together.
That's cool. Amazing. Yeah, we're gonna blow this up. I'm really looking forward to this. Dallas.
Very cool.
Okay, guys. I got to run, guys. See you.
God bless you. Yep. Take care.
Thank you.
Awesome.